Hi everybody, welcome to a Facebook Live with Jeannie. I'm Jeannie Nielsen, the card lady, and I'm very excited to be here with you today. Sorry I got sidetracked. I didn't notice that my phone was just about out of juice, so I had to charge it, and then I went into the garage. I've been having a sale for 2 weeks cleaning out my craft room. Significantly cleaner here. The problem is it's all in the garage, which means I can't park in the garage until I clean it out. So I am working on that, but boy, oh boy, thank you to everybody that came out this weekend and last weekend and made such a dent into my stash. There were so many good things. I don't think I can do it again because I just don't have the time to set it up, and I have to get my garage space back. But thank you to everybody. It was a very successful sale, I have to say. Everybody was very, very happy to find lots of great deals. Great, great, great deals. If you're wondering how my foot is, I'm going back to work tomorrow. Tomorrow is my first day back in the clinic, on my feet all day. I'm only working half a day just to give it a try, but I have to tell you, you probably know if I'm cleaning out my craft room, I'm not off my feet. So don't tell anybody, but I haven't been very good. I'm out of the boot though. I'm back in regular shoes. And until I went to the doctor today, I honestly was feeling pretty good, but he had me do some extra large rotations and extensions and flexions and pushing against his hand. And today I'm sore. But anyway, it's going to go away and I'm going to be better. I'm going to live. Let's get to today's class. Today's online class is the sunflowers. I did it in class this week, and let me just tell you, what we're going to use is the Sunflower Embossing Folder. It's a beautiful folder. It's sold out again. Go on in the store and click that you want to be notified when it comes back. When it comes back, I promise you, Stampin' Up! Sends an email, and you are going to get it. So the Sunflower Embossing Folder, I'm going to show you some techniques with it. The cards that I did, I have 3 of them. There's one. I'll show you in a second. Here's number 2. And when I flip down, it'll be right side. And here's number 3. All use a couple of different techniques. I use the right words for these stamp sets, but now I'm going to use Label Me Grateful because I owe a lot of thank you notes for everybody that came out this weekend and made the sale such a fabulous day. Okay, so let me flip up to flip down, and I'm going to show you how we did this, and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks with the embossing folder. Okay, so here we go, up to the ceiling. Let me flip the right there. Okay, and here we go. Let me move into my space a little bit better so you can see me. Okay, this is the Sunflower Embossing Folder. It's an extra large folder. You can probably see that. It's a beautiful folder, and if you love sunflowers, you are going to love this. There are so many techniques on Pinterest that I saw as well. Mine are pretty straightforward, my techniques, but yours, you can color with blends, you can color with sponge daubers, so many things. What a great folder. When you're doing your embossing, there is a right side and a wrong side, an embossed and a debossed side. The trick is to make sure that whatever pattern you want to be raised, like this one, you're going to make sure that the Stampin' logo is upright. So you have your DSP or cardstock that's in here, and if you want a particular side, you just make sure that side stays up in view of the Stampin' Up! Logo. So like I said, I'm using the Label Me Grateful stamp set. Lots of great thank you sentiments. So we're going to substitute that for this. You can see here I used the Right Words stamp set, which always has the right words, as you would imagine. Thinking of you, forever loved, forever remembered. This would be a great card for somebody that's had a loss of whatever, pet or person. And then here was a card. This actually was a card that I made or received and did in a shoebox swap while I was in Nashville. And I have reconstructed it just for you. Okay, So I haven't done any embossing, but like I said, when I'm doing the embossing, what I'm going to do is have our base platform. You don't have that thin sheet that is there, the thin plastic part that is usually there when you're cutting with dies. That would make it too thick. So you have just your base platform. Because this is an extra thick 3D folder, all you need then is your gray plate. If you still have the blue plate works as well. I have, like I said, have not done any of the embossing. I'm going to do that off camera, but I wanted to show you how I was doing it. Let's start with this green and yellow card. This uses the paper from, I believe it's Impressions of Bloom, or at least the stamp set is Impressions of Bloom. Flowers of Bloom, Floral of Bloom, A Bloom with Florals. Anyway, it was the online exclusive paper from the summer. And we've got two different patterns. Let's prep the card here. I have my base 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 garden green. I have a 4" by 10 3/4" piece of thick basic white cardstock. And I'll tell you, I can't remember exactly what the dimensions are. It wasn't 2 3/4 and it wasn't 2 1/2. It might have been 2 5/8. Whatever it is, you are going to have a 5 1/2". Let me measure that here. You're going to have a 5 1/2, 5 1/4" piece in the middle. And then each side, besides that, remember I said it was 10 3/4. On each side is going to be the remainder. So 10 3/4 minus 5 1/4 leaves you the amount that you will divide in half and score this at. So I hope that makes sense. It looks like it is 2 9/16. 8, 9. Yes, I think it's 2 5/8 and 7 7/8 is what it is, approximately. Okay, and then that meets in the middle, and we're going to just glue that onto here. Okay, let me emboss my paper. Like I said, I'm embossing off camera. This is my cardstock that I'm going to emboss this beautiful sunflower pattern with. I want this to be upright, so I will make sure that when I put it here in the folder, and I could put it anywhere, I'm going to put it right there so that I get a good part of 2 of these sunflowers. I have it so that my logo is facing up, and let me just go here now and emboss it very quickly. I have my machine right off camera, and it's all ready to go. The only other thing I forgot, and Chris is going to say, my son said, do you have everything that you need? Do you have everything? Of course, I didn't have any glue. But anyway, so I've embossed this now, and this is what it looks like. Look at how nicely that embosses, and it gives you a great impression. So this is going to be 2 1/2" by 3 3/4". And we're going to do the same with the DSP at the bottom, which has some sunflowers. I'm going to glue that right at the bottom. So let me do that very quickly. Of course, my glue is not open because I wasn't thinking. I do have glue that's open, but you know, if I spent that much time off camera, my son would have a fit with me saying, Mom, I told you to be prepared. So we'll just use a new one that I know is going to have plenty of glue in it. Okay, so we're going to do this at the bottom. I'm just going to center it right there, and then this is going to go at the top. And see, it leaves a deboss. You can't see it because this pattern is so busy on the other side. Here we go. There we go. Just like that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm probably off camera. I'm trying to, just like that. And I should have done that higher up. Oh well, I'm not doing a great job because I can tell. But what I'm going to do is attach this to my card base, which is just 4 by 5 1/4". You don't need both because you can write inside. And then let me show you what we're going to do. I chose here I have 2 squares. These are all the stylish shaped squares, of course. And I am going to stamp my sentiment. And what I decided to stamp was so... We're going to find out what I'm going to stamp. It has something for appreciation, though. I put it on the stamp so that I could figure out where I was going to stamp so I could do it in the angle. And it's going to fit just perfectly, just right there. So all I do is tap. I'm not smushing it in because I don't want any halos around my stamps, right? So we're going to do our best. Totally doing our best. And it says, so grateful for that heart of yours. And what I'm going to do is put that right here in the center of this and just attach the adhesive behind that. It's not exactly perfectly straight, but you know, I think people are going to get the idea and they're going to be grateful for a sunflower card, right? I'm going to just attach this right here. I should have done it so that it would have been a little bit... I'll have to do it again, but you get the picture. I'm going to just attach this. Just the top half gets the adhesive. Just like this. I guess we're going to do it at an angle so they can read it, right? I think that works. And then if I wanted to, I could add just... Boy, everybody's card classes, samples in class came out so well. I'm just going to add a strip of DSP just to brighten up the inside as well. Just like that. So here we go. That's card number 1. Look at the good one. Oh, I forgot. So we have these gems. These are the low profile sparkle dots. They go really well with the pear DSP. And I have my pear card class coming up in November. I had to put it off until November because there's something going on every weekend. I have my Stamp Out Breast Cancer event, and I'm one of the hosts along with Celine, along with my upline Marilyn, and several. Tammy White is one of the demonstrators that always helps with this. I'm going to do yellow. I know the green shows up better, but I just love yellow. So let me just do some yellow. And usually I'm picking it up with my putty side. Let's just do that right there. And maybe we'll do one more down at the bottom. That's a nice, there you go. You get the idea. So isn't that pretty? I guess the green goes a little bit better. Let's just look at the green one. This is the green one and it's perfectly done. So I hope you enjoyed that card and learning how to make it. Let's move on to card number 2. Card number 2, we have a couple of techniques going on here. This is card number 2. And what I'm going to do is use a 2-tone cardstock, our new 12 by 12 2-tone cardstock. And I'm going to make this card. Sorry, I guess the envelope never made it into the thing, but let me show you. So this is 2-tone crushed curry. So you see the one side, this is probably close to the true color, and then there's another lighter side. So this time, rather than doing the dark, we're going to do a lighter one. Let's do the lighter one. I believe it's 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. If you are taking notes, I'm going to layer it on a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Cajun Craze, and then we're going to put it on a base of crumb cake. So let's do that now. Once again, because I am doing the embossing and I want the light side instead of the dark side, I'm going to have the light side facing up. And it doesn't matter where it is. I want it so that it shows a good bunch of the sunflowers. So let me emboss that real quick. Guess I need my sandwich for that. Okay, so one thing I wanted to show you with this, we're going to do some sanding of this first. So see, here's the light side, and it's already done a little bit of cracking there. And then on the other side, it's the deboss side, which it's also done some cracking on. What I'm going to do, I found a piece of sandpaper in the garage, and it actually, no, I didn't. This used to be Stampin' Up. I found it in my cabinet. And what I'm going to do is just lightly, just remove some of the yellow from the raised edges. I don't want to rip it, but I do want to give some variety and some texture to it. So that's what we're doing here. You could do as much as you want. With a smaller piece, somebody said that they thought maybe an emery board, a nail file, would work better. And I agree, there are some really small areas here. You can't control a whole lot. I don't even remember when I got this sanding block. It must go back 15 years. It's been a while. Anyway, you see what I'm doing? I'm just removing some of the yellow without hopefully ripping it. And there we go. Ta-da. I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. Okay, what I'm going to do now is attach it to my Cajun Craze. I did want to tell you one thing. I had said when I put it in here, I didn't care how my, my sunflowers. It's such a big folder, and there's so much variety of the sunflowers. There's so many places you could put it, right? Stampin' Up! Always puts a line at the bottom, and it helps you line up your things if you wanted to put it exactly perfectly in the right spot. So if you had a 6x6 card, and you would probably want to line up the bottom of the 6x6 paper with that line so that you could have it exactly where you want it to be. The one thing about emboss things is sometimes it needs a little bit extra adhesive, because the raised things, it gets into those little crevices, those little nooks and crannies, instead of to the raised portion on the other side. So sometimes you might have to add a little bit more ink. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, let's see, and yeah, don't tell Chris, I forgot something again. I left my punch that I was going to use, and I was going to look up the name for it too. I think it's Label Me Lovely. I believe that's the stamp, the punch that we used here. Label Me Lovely, something like that. Lovely, I don't know. But I'm going to stamp. Let's see, I chose Thank You from the Label Me Grateful stamp set. So I'm going to, first of all, grab my punch. Well, maybe I'm, oh, here it is. I had it on the table. Okay, I was going to say, maybe I'm not going to grab it. Okay, let me stamp. With Cajun Craze ink, I'm going to stamp the thank you. And then I'm going to show you another technique. Don't you love my wink? I decided I was going to use Wink of Stella with my, I had a Wink of Stella pen, and that Wink of Stella, I tried to pull up the ink from the ink pad. Don't do it that way, by the way. That's your big tip of the day. Okay, there's my thank you. And I'm going to punch that out. Now, if my paper was too small, I'm going to show you a little tip. If my paper was too small, what I would do is the sticky part of my Post-it note, I could use that. I turn over my punch, and I could feed it in that way. See how I'm doing that? I'm using it almost as a handle. So that's another tip for you today. I probably could have figured it out without that, but I did want to show you that. Let's put some dimensionals and pop it up. And then I'm going to show you another technique, which you guys probably all know by now. Most of you have been demonstrators for years. I don't speak to all I know there may be a new stamper out there watching me. If you are brand new to stamping and you're learning something, let me know. I want to hear that. And if you know what you want to learn, tell me that too, because I'd love to teach. Oh, here we go. Okay, there's 2 more techniques. I have here a sponge dauber, and it's been a little roughed up, but it's there. Let me not stick this down yet. I'm going to open my Cajun Craze ink pad again, and what I'm going to do is just daub a little bit around the edges, just like that. And you've got, you can go as deep as you want when you're, as heavy as you want. I like a little bit of shadow so it looks kind of homemade, but you could just stick to the edges, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do. So I've got my dimensionals, and now that stands out a little bit more on my card, right? Okay, let me show you the next thing I'm going to do. I am going to use some basic beige ribbon. What's that? Basic beige? How's that going to work? Well, it's the same as like a white or a vanilla ribbon. It's a nice light ribbon, so we're going to use that, and we're going to pull color or add color with my Cajun Craze Dark Stampin' Blend. So let me show you how I do that. I've got this is my scrap paper here, and we'll see. I probably don't need too much because it's a knot, not a bow. Let's just go down to here, and if I need more, I'll add it. So I'm just coloring. Make sure you've got scrap paper underneath. If you don't, you are going to find out that you are going to ruin some tables. I've probably said this before and you've heard it. I did some coloring with my sister on a beautiful oak table in her house, in her dining room. And let me tell you, oh my goodness, we panicked because it got onto the wood. I think that her husband did end up sanding it down. Let it dry a little bit if you can. Boy, I'm going to get high on the smell here. I'm just going to tie a knot here. Just like that. Nice and simple. And then I think I've got a pair of scissors here. I'm just going to taper my ends just like that. And then with a glue dot, hopefully it's going to stick because it is still wet from the ink. But it's supposed to stick. I'm going to just get rid of that edge because I'm probably done with that now. Got my glue dots. Got one here that never got used at the very end, so let's use that. Oh, look at that. It even left, see, it does not want to stick because it's still wet. I'm going to do my best. Okay, let me move that off. Let me put this here. I don't think it's going to stick, and see, my hands are getting all dirty. Let it sit if you can. If you got a minute or two, let it sit before adding it to your card. It's going to take a little bit to get. I've got some alcohol wipes, and I'll work on getting rid of the ink off my hands when I'm done. Okay, so let me clean up a little bit. You guys would be so impressed with my room. It's so empty right now. It's got a long ways to go. Because first of all, where am I going to put all the stuff that came out of my room? See, it doesn't want to stick yet because it's so... Try that again. Okay, that's what I did. And then the only other thing, the last hurrah, so to speak, is to add these Cajun Craze and gold dots. And here's my thing. Other people have used like the spatula. You could use the spatula if you wanted to try and grab your dots. If you do, just make sure, I'll do it like that, that you grab also the little ink thing that goes underneath. I'm going to do that right there. And let's do one more little one. I had such a hard time with the putty that I decided to do it this way. And now I'm using my fingers, and that's not the best way either. You'll find I have another person that always uses the point like this. And I always keep that inside and use the spatula side, but you will find that you want this take your pick tool and that it will work for you the way it's supposed to work. Okay, so one more time, get this to stick. And here is our card. And I do like it with the light better, I think. But see how much, it just adds some nice variety sanding that off. So that is card number 2 with the technique. Okay, let's do card number 3, our last card. Trying to keep up and be nice and clean here. This card is done, it has a Calypso coral base. This is the card that we made. What I'm going to do instead is try it with the other side of the DSP, or maybe I'm going to look at it. Let's look. I'm afraid I love this color. It's very, very pretty. I'm afraid the sunflowers are going to get lost in there though. So maybe I will have to be content to use that, just maybe a strip of that on the inside instead, using this side instead. But I don't have that cut right now, so we're going to leave that for last. This is the petal pink because I think that's the other color that's in here. I cut this out with the Peace on Earth bundle, the dies, the smaller die from Peace on Earth, I believe, in case you wanted to replicate it exactly. So now that I've decided I am going to stick with this side, I'm going to make sure that when I put this one in here, that that's the side. And this one I'll line up exactly with the line just to show you that. I'm going to make sure the logo side is up for the side that I want to emboss. Okay, so let me give a camera for 1 second and I'm going to do that. See, I showed you how to do the sandwich, so you really don't need to know too much more on how to do this, right? I'm going to leave the folder there. Okay, so this is the beautiful DSP now. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? This one also cracked a little bit. So I think it is quite and you know, that happens sometimes when you do some embossing with the 3D folder. Some of them will actually crack. You might need to find a sandwich that isn't quite as tight if you're always having a problem with it cracking. This one, I don't mind because it's kind of on purpose, right? Okay, I'm going to show you what we're going to do now. We are going to use a blending brush. So we've used the Stampin' Blend to color the ribbon. Now we're going to use a blending brush to add just a little bit of color to our sunflowers. And I have to make sure that I have a piece of a non-busy piece of scrap paper. I'm going to do that. Use this piece right here. Okay, so here is a non-busy piece. The reason I want to have my scrap paper handy is because when I'm adding the color to my brush, if I go right here and start blending, it's going to be gobs of color. You're going to have a big blob of color, and then there's going to be none, a big blob of color. What I like to do is start off the page, and then I can make sure that I'm just adding a little bit of color to it. So see how that gives a big blob? I don't want a big blob. I just want a little bit of interest. I want it to pop out, right? So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm adding this just like that. And you could make it as dark as you want. That's really up to you. I like it a little bit lighter, but you may prefer a darker. But make it so that you can decide and that the brush doesn't decide for you is essentially what I want to teach you. If you do the big blob of color, all of a sudden the rest of it has to have big blobs of color too. So make sure, just like that. What do you think? Pretty cool, huh? It gives some real good interest. I don't know, these are probably the stems and the leaves, so it's not really coming up. And there's actually some open space that it's really not picking up. And what you'll notice is that it's picking up or adding color to the raised areas. So just do it like that. Good. I think that's good. And like I said, you can do as much as you want. You can do as little as you want. I just wanted it to accent it. So I've used my DSP, and then I've used my blending brush to add. Boy, they're so confusing, right? You've got a blending brush, you've got a stamp and blend, and then you've got a blender pen. So all a little bit different and do totally different techniques, right? Okay, let's add this. We're going to glue this to our, isn't that pretty? That's really pretty. I'm going to add this right here to my card base, just like that. If I wish I could do it, you know, I almost could have done it. You know, maybe I will do it. Hang on a second. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to just add, just to throw a little bit of extra technique in, I'm just going to do this to the white too. Let's see if I can do it. And then I might try something else with that. So I'm just going to do it in the bottom corner of this, just so I can add it to my inside of my card. Just have to be careful, because I just realized that's not going to work. It was a great idea, but you know what? You have to have just about the whole thing. You have to have, I have to show you what I just realized. So I was going to bend my paper by putting that in like that. You have to make sure that most of it is not going to run into the side of your Stampin' Cut and Emboss. So let's do that. We'll see how it's going to work, and maybe it's not going to work. Maybe maybe what I want to do, if it doesn't work, I've got a new plan. Oh, it worked. Okay. So this is a little bit of, just a little bit, it worked, but it really didn't, because this was the end of my folder. What I wanted to do was put this down here inside, and that would have been pretty too, but it's such a stark end to that. So I guess it's not a great idea. The other thing I could do was cut around it and then just pop it up in the corner. So all kinds of ideas. It's kind of cool. It's not perfectly cool, but it's kind of cool. So I hope that experimenting taught you something. We're going to put this down in the corner, just like that. Add a little bit of interest to the inside of the card so we don't have a naked card. Okay, now I need to stamp my sentiment. That's the last thing. So what I chose for this one is, you are so appreciated. Sorry, I had to look at that. I'm going to stamp that with my early espresso ink. Sorry, I don't do a great job reading backwards, especially when it's script, but I did okay. I'm going to put this on the block so I can trust my block and know that hopefully I didn't stand up, so I don't even know. Not bad. Could have used a little bit more ink, but not bad, right? Thanks, guys. That's kind of funny, huh? Okay, I'm going to put this down here on the bottom. Once again, I will pop it up with some dimensionals to give it a little bit extra interest. One of these days, I'll figure out how to use the Take Your Pick tool to take off my dimensional backs. I don't know when. I wouldn't look for it today. One technique at a time for me, right? And I'm going to put that right there. One thing that I did with this one is I added a double twine bow. So the old olive and early espresso bows, I tied a bunch of bows for my people. I took two lengths and then I tied them together. And you do your best and hope. Here I need the glue dots again now that I put them away. If I hadn't put them away, I wouldn't have needed them. Notice that I'm bringing my twine to the glue dots rather than taking it off, if that makes sense. You can kind of hope that you're going to train this to go the way it wants. Yeah, I'm full of baloney. There's no training going on. Anyway, okay. So we got that. Now I will put away my glue dots. And what do you think? Isn't that kind of cool? So we had a couple of different techniques. We had our sanding, coloring the ribbon, daubing the edge. We had using the blender brush to add ink to the embossed. And then our third card was just embossing the DSP and learning that if you want, the side that you want to be embossed is the DSP that faces upward on the same side as the logo. So I think I could almost show you the other side of my room, but I'm not going to. I'm going to flip and say goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I had a wonderful time. Thanks for the likes. If you have ideas for future classes or something that you want to see on a Facebook Live, send me a message or leave a comment. I read them all. Might take me a minute or two because I'm back to work tomorrow, but I love you guys. Bye.